The rescue that changed everything. The stars were burning. In the dark sky above planet Vega 9, hundreds of warships moved like angry bees. Red lasers cut through the blackness. Explosions lit the night. It was war, loud, fast, and full of death. And, in the middle of it, one man jumped from a falling shuttle. Jack Carter, a human soldier, rolled across the metal ground and looked up. His mission was simple: get in, get the target, get out. But nothing was ever simple in war. He ran through, the smoke dodging blasts from enemy drones. His helmet beeped, his oxygen was low, and his left arm was bleeding, but he didn't stop. He had orders. And Jack Carter followed orders. Most of the time. He reached a damaged alien bunker. The steel doors were open, half blown by a missile. Inside, something groaned. Jack pointed his blaster and stepped in. On the ground was a tall alien in black and silver armor, 4 arms, greenish skin, deep black eyes. He was bleeding badly, but Jack recognized the face instantly. General Zelthar, leader of the Zalari army, the man who once promised to burn Earth to ashes, the enemy. But this alien didn't look powerful now. He looked broken, weak, dying. Jack lowered his weapon. Of all people, Jack muttered, "Why you?" Zelthar coughed. "Kill me or help me, make it quick, human." Jack hesitated, his comms buzzed. "Extraction in 5 minutes. Carter, status?" He pressed the button. "Found a VIP, taking him with me." "What? You're not authorized," but Jack turned it off. He bent down, lifted Zelthar over his shoulder and ran. Bullets flew. One hit Jack's leg. He limped, groaned, but didn't stop. Not for a second. He made it to the extraction point just in time. The shuttle door opened. Soldiers looked shocked, guns pointed at the alien. "Stand down," Jack shouted. "He's coming with us." They flew away from Vega 9. Behind them, the battlefield burned. 3 days later, peace talks began. Why? Because the general had been saved. By a human. No one understood it. Not the humans, not the Zalari, not even Jack himself. "I didn't do it for medals," Jack told his commander. "I just couldn't leave him to die." The Zalari saw it differently. For them, saving a life, especially of a leader, was sacred. It wasn't just an act of kindness. It was a life bond. A bond that had rules. Big rules. Jack stood in the middle of a golden Zalari hall. Everything was glowing. Walls, floor, even the air. Next to him stood General Zelthar, now fully healed. Before them stood the High Council of Zalari, tall, proud, and very serious. One elder spoke, "Human Jack Carter, you saved the life of General Zelthar. By our ancient laws, you are now bound to his bloodline. You must marry his only daughter, Princess Soraya." Jack blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" Another elder added, "This is an honor, a reward." "A reward?" Jack looked at Zelthar. "You couldn't just give me a thank you card?" Zelthar gave a small smile. "Our ways are old and my daughter is not easy." On the other side of the planet, Princess Soraya was training with a plasma sword. She moved like lightning, fast, sharp, perfect. When the council told her the news, she dropped her sword. "A human?" she said, eyes wide. "You want me to marry a grunt from Earth?" Zelthar nodded. "He saved my life." Soraya frowned. "He should have left you to die. Ouch. But rules were rules. And the ceremony was set in 5 days. Jack and Soraya met for the first time at a formal dinner. It went badly. "You eat like a beast," Soraya said. "You talk like a robot," Jack replied, smiling. They didn't shake hands. They didn't smile. They didn't like each other. But something was happening behind the scenes. A shadow moved. Through the stars, a plan was already in motion. One that would test them both. One that would change everything again. That night, far from the palace, a cloaked figure whispered into a comm device. "The human must die before the wedding, or everything will fall apart. Gratitude or debt." The royal halls of the Zalari. Capital buzzed with whispers. Humans and aliens hadn't seen peace in decades. Yet here they were, planning a wedding between the daughter of the Zalari's greatest general and the human soldier who had saved his life. To the Zalari, it was tradition. To the humans, it was weird. To Jack Carter, it was a bad dream he hadn't woken up from yet. "You don't have to marry her," said Commander Reeve on the holocom. "The treaty is solid without it." Jack sat in his temporary quarters, tossing a rubber ball at the ceiling like a bored teenager in detention. "Yeah?" Jack said. "Tell that to the 10-foot aliens outside my room with swords that glow hotter than my coffee." He caught the ball. "They call it a life bond. Break it and they consider it an act of war." Reeve sighed. "Then smile at the princess and survive the week." "Oh, she loves me already," Jack muttered. "Told me I smell like a dying space llama." Meanwhile, in her own chamber, Princess Soraya stared at her reflection. Her golden eyes narrowed. Her ceremonial armor didn't fit right, too tight, just like her situation. "I won't do it," she told her assistant, a small round alien with 7 eyes. "Tradition says you must," said the assistant. "He saved your father's life." "I didn't ask him to," Soraya snapped. "He did it for glory, for attention." But even she didn't fully believe that, because the footage was clear. She'd seen it. The human had carried Zelthar across fire and shrapnel, bleeding, limping, but never letting go. No one else would have done that. Still, Soraya was furious. Marriage to a human, a joke, an insult. Her assistant lowered their head. "Then perhaps you should talk to him. See the truth for yourself," Soraya growled softly. "Fine. But if he says one word about llamas again, I will stab him." That night, under the glowing twin moons of Zalari Prime, Soraya and Jack met again. This time in private, in the palace garden. Jack leaned against a glowing tree, arms crossed. "You brought guards?" he asked, nodding toward 2 tall Zalari warriors. "They're for your protection," Soraya replied coldly. "From me." Comforting. They sat across from each other. Silence. Awkward tension thick enough to block a laser beam. Finally, Jack broke it. "I didn't ask for this, you know." Soraya raised an eyebrow. "You saved my father. Because it was the right thing to do, not because I wanted to win a space princess." She tilted her head. "So, you're stupid and honorable?" Jack shrugged. "Pretty much." She almost smiled. Almost. Then, boom, an explosion rocked the garden. The guards jumped in front of Soraya. Smoke filled the air. A sharp whistle rang out. A sniper round missed her head by inches. Jack tackled her to the ground just in time. "Sniper, get down!" he shouted. "Get off me!" she yelled, face inches from his. A second shot hit a tree behind them. The guards fell, hit by a third. Jack grabbed Soraya's hand. "We're getting out of here." They ran through the maze of glowing trees, dodging plasma bolts. Somewhere in the shadows, the shooter chased them, silent and deadly. They hid in an old storage tunnel below the palace. Jack's arm was bleeding again. Soraya helped bandage it in silence. "You know," Jack said, breathing hard, "you're better at first aid than at small talk." She didn't answer. Her hands were shaking. "That shot, it was meant for me," she said quietly. Jack looked at her. "How do you know?" She hesitated, then said, "I got a message yesterday, anonymous. It said, 'Do not bond with the human, or you both die.'" Jack raised his eyebrows. "Well, that's romantic. Someone is trying to stop the wedding," Soraya said. "Not for me. Not for you. For war." She stood up. Her face was cold, serious. "This marriage, this bond, was supposed to unite our people, but it's a threat to someone." Jack got to his feet. "Someone with access to palace security." They looked at each other. Enemies yesterday, strangers today, partners maybe tomorrow. But there was no time to think about feelings. Not when someone wanted them both dead. Back in the Royal Tower, General Zelthar watched the damage reports. His face was stone, but his eyes burned. His advisor stepped forward. Shall we cancel the bonding? Zelthar didn't answer. Right away. No, he said finally. The attack proves this bond is powerful. Dangerous. That means it's needed more than ever. But your daughter, she will do her duty. He turned toward the stars, whispering in a voice only the stars could hear. The past is returning, and soon, no one will be safe. Far away, in the deep vacuum of space, a black ship floated silently. Inside, a masked figure looked at a screen showing Jack and Soraya's faces. A mechanical voice spoke. The bond must be broken. Kill the human. Then, activate Phase 2. The screen flickered. A countdown began. Days left until the bonding. Days left to stop the war, or start a new one. The law is law, even in love. 3 days before the wedding. The Zalari Palace looked peaceful from the outside. Tall towers, glowing glass walls, floating gardens. But on the inside, trust was breaking faster than glass in a meteor storm. After the assassination attempt, guards were everywhere. Even the flowers had security drones now. Jack Carter sat on the balcony of his new royal guest suite. He held a cup of alien tea that tasted like spicy algae and sadness. He wasn't used to all this. He was a soldier, a fighter, not royalty. He stared into the horizon. This is insane, he muttered. Behind him, a voice said, You're not wrong. He turned. It was Princess Soraya dressed in casual armor, her sword hanging at her hip like always. She looked tired, as if sleep had been running from her too. Jack raised his cup. Want some spicy sadness tea? She ignored the joke. We need to talk. Jack stood. That's serious, huh? Inside, Soraya showed him a small glowing cube. She placed it on the table. A soft hum came from it. What is it? Jack asked. A truth cube, she replied. It makes sure no one outside this room hears us, not even the walls. Jack whistled. You guys don't mess around. She stared at him. I did some digging. That law, about the life bond, it's not old. It's not even 100 years old. Someone made it look ancient, fake the records. Jack frowned. Wait, are you saying the law that's forcing us to marry is a lie? She nodded. A beautiful, shiny lie. Jack scratched his chin. So, why would someone invent a fake marriage law between species? Soraya tapped the cube again and a hologram flickered on the wall. A map of planets appeared. Red dots glowed on the borders between human and Zalari territories. These zones, she said. The ones full of tension, trade disputes, weapon, factories. Guess what would happen if war breaks out again? Jack looked at the dots. Whoever owns those zones gets rich. She nodded slowly. There are people, on both sides, who don't want peace. They want chaos. War gives them power. Jack paced. So this wedding, us, we're not a reward. We're a threat. To the wrong people, yes, Soraya said. Jack let out a long breath. I knew my love life was cursed, but this is next level. Later that night, Jack sat alone in his room, staring at a message from Earth Command. Proceed with bonding. Public image of peace must be protected. No delays, no doubts. He didn't reply. His mind was spinning. Was he being used? Was Soraya? Did Zelthar know the law was fake? He remembered carrying the old general on his back through fire. It didn't feel fake then. It felt human. Soraya was in the training yard, slicing energy drones in half like they owed her money. Her advisor approached. You're pushing too hard, they said. I need to think, she replied, breathing fast. The advisor paused. About the human? She didn't answer. She just hit the next drone harder. The truth was, Jack surprised her. He was sarcastic, stubborn, and way too relaxed, but also brave, honest. He didn't treat her like a princess. He treated her like a soldier, and now they were trapped together in a game someone else was playing. The next morning, they were summoned. Hi. Council meeting room. large, echoing, full of people who looked like they hadn't smiled in 300 years. General Zelthar stood at the front. His voice was calm but sharp. "There has been an attack," he said. "On a peace ship. 50 lives lost." Gasps filled the chamber. A council member turned to Jack. "Human vessels were nearby?" Jack's eyes narrowed. "No, that's impossible." Soraya stepped forward. "I was with him the whole time." Another member frowned. "There are ways to manipulate data." Jack clenched his fists. "You think I ordered it? That I'd blow up a ship to ruin my own wedding?" Zelthar raised a hand. "Enough." He looked at Jack, then at Soraya. "Until the investigation ends, you will be kept under palace watch. Together." Soraya scowled. "You mean locked up?" Zelthar didn't blink. "Protected. From the outside. And maybe from yourselves." Later that night, Jack and Soraya were in the Royal Archive room, basically a fancy jail with books. "No weapons, no contact with the outside," Jack said. "Just us, some glowing chairs, and a million scrolls." "Sounds romantic," Soraya muttered. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Soraya said, "I think my father knows." Jack looked up. "Knows what?" "That the law is fake, that someone created it to control us, and he's going along with it anyway." Jack tilted his head. "Why would he do that?" She met his eyes. "Because if we don't get married, the fake law gets exposed. Peace falls apart, war begins, billions die." Silence again. Then Jack whispered, "So, we get married, not because it's right, but because it's the only way to save everyone." She nodded. "Exactly." He laughed, just a little. "You know, most people just elope when their families are this messed up." Just before midnight, Soraya found a hidden console behind a bookshelf. She accessed secret palace files with her personal code. Jack leaned over her shoulder. "Anything juicy?" She clicked through layers of security, then gasped. "What is it?" Jack asked. She turned the screen to him. On it, a video. Zelthar, talking with someone in shadows. A masked figure. Zelthar's voice. "The human must survive until the bonding. After that, do what you must." The video cut off. Jack took a step back. "Your father's working with them?" Soraya's voice was quiet. "He's planning something. I don't think I know him anymore." Elsewhere, deep underground in the old tunnels below the palace, a hooded figure walked slowly toward a cryopod. Inside it was a copy. A second Jack Carter, unconscious, hooked to wires. The figure whispered into a comm, "Phase 2 is ready. If the original fails, the clone won't." Hearts and hostiles. The next morning, the palace seemed calm, but in the hearts of Jack Carter and Princess Soraya, chaos was growing. They now had two pieces of the puzzle. The bonding law was fake. General Zelthar, Soraya's own father, was somehow involved, and oh yeah, someone tried to kill them. So naturally, the Royal Council decided the best move was a romantic bonding ceremony rehearsal. In the grand celestial hall, decorated with floating lanterns and sparkly carpets, Jack stood in a black ceremonial robe that felt like it had been made from hot glitter and disappointment. Soraya walked toward him in traditional armor with a long glowing cape and the exact expression of someone going to a dentist with a chainsaw. Jack leaned toward her. "You know, you don't have to look this furious. At least fake a smile for the alien paparazzi." Soraya muttered without turning, "If I smile, I might throw up." Jack grinned. "Sounds like a date to me." The crowd of royal guests clapped politely as they stood together under the binding arch. It was a symbolic ritual, meant to unite the DNA threads of two civilizations. Jack whispered, "If this thing zaps me, I swear I'm suing somebody." Soraya gave the tiniest smirk. For a moment they locked eyes, and something shifted. It wasn't a smile. It wasn't trust. But it was something more than hate. But peace never lasts long in sci-fi land. The ceremony was interrupted by a royal guard running in, out of breath, face pale. There's been an attack. The archive tower. Explosion. Someone broke into the secure memory vault. Zelthar's face went hard. Who did this? The guard held up a hologram photo. Everyone turned to look, and there he was, Jack Carter, blurry in the footage, sneaking into the vault. What the hell? Jack said out loud. That's not me. Soraya blinked. It looks like you. I wasn't there, Jack snapped. We were in the bonding rehearsal. Zelthar's eyes narrowed. Then someone faked the video, or there's another version of you. Jack felt his blood freeze. The clone. He hadn't told Soraya yet. Moments later, Jack was surrounded by guards. His wrists were locked in glowing cuffs. Wait, this is a setup, he shouted. Soraya stepped forward. He didn't do it. He was with me the whole time. The council wasn't buying it. Technology can fool witnesses, one elder said. We must take caution. Zelthar's voice was colder than space. Put him in the interrogation core until we know the truth. Jack locked eyes with Soraya. You know this isn't me. She looked back at him and said nothing. 12 floors below the palace. The interrogation core was a prison of silence and white light. Jack sat in a chair surrounded by spinning scanners. A cold female voice repeated the same phrase. You are accused of high treason. Do you accept guilt? Jack rolled his eyes. Do you accept a malfunctioning brain, robot lady? Outside the chamber, Soraya stood watching through a glass wall. Her heart was pounding. She hated this. Hated seeing him locked up. Hated caring that he was locked up. Her father stood beside her. He must be questioned, Zelthar said. If he's innocent, we'll find out. Soraya turned sharply. And if he's not? Zelthar didn't answer. She knew then. He already made his decision. That night, Soraya snuck back into the archive vault, the very place Jack was accused of breaking into. The damage was real. Burned files, a broken entry gate. But something was off. She scanned the lock. Access granted. Level X. Identity. Zelthar. Her stomach dropped. Her father was the one who opened the vault. The footage blaming Jack was altered. She ran. Meanwhile, inside the interrogation core, Jack was alone. Except he wasn't. Out of the shadows stepped a cloaked figure. Tall. Masked. Jack tried to stand, but the cuffs zapped him back into the chair. The figure spoke in a voice like smoke and static. You were supposed to die before the bonding. Jack's eyes narrowed. That so? The figure leaned in. The clone was ready, but you're inconveniently alive. Jack smirked. Sorry for the inconvenience. The figure raised a hand. A glowing needle device appeared. You'll disappear tonight, quietly. They'll think you escaped. The princess will mourn for 5 minutes, then move on. Jack's smile faded. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Suddenly the lights went out. A flash of purple energy filled the room. The doors flew open, and there she was. Soraya, sword drawn, eyes blazing. You touch him, I'll remove your lungs, she said. The figure turned to face her. Princess? Wrong title, she snapped. Future Empress. And you're standing in my way. A fight broke out. Soraya moved like wind and lightning. Jack broke free of his bonds using a hidden blade in his boot, because Jack Carter is always carrying at least one illegal gadget. The masked figure escaped in the chaos, but not before dropping something, a communicator. Jack picked it up. A message was playing on loop. Phase 3 begins now. Prepare the cannon. Back in Soraya's chambers, Jack and Soraya sat together. Her face was pale. I saw the logs. She said, my father opened the vault, not you. Jack leaned forward. Why is he doing this? Soraya swallowed hard. Because he believes the galaxy needs war, not peace. War makes people strong, he says. Jack shook his head. Peace takes more strength. She looked at him then. Not like a soldier, not like an enemy, but like a Woman seeing someone for the first time, she whispered, "Why do you still trust me?" He smiled, soft. "Because you saved me. Twice now. That's usually where I stop holding grudges." A moment of silence. And then, Soraya stood up. "There's something else, the canon in that message. I know what it is." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Don't tell me it's a literal cannon." She nodded. "Worse, it's the Nova Core cannon. It can destroy an entire solar system. With one shot." Jack blinked. "Okay, that's a lot of cannon." Inside a hidden facility, far from the palace, a black machine hummed, the Nova Core cannon, half complete, glowing, deadly. The masked figure arrived, and behind them stepped Zelthar. "We lost the human," the figure said. Zelthar looked at the cannon. "It doesn't matter." He placed a hand on the control panel. "We don't need a marriage, we need a message." The countdown began. 10 days until the firing of the cannon. 10 days until a star dies. 10 days until everything changes. The prisoner and the princess. The palace was no longer a home. It was a cage of gold and secrets. Soraya stood in the shadow of her father's statue, one hand on her sword, the other holding a communicator playing the same message again and again. Phase 3 begins now. Prepare the cannon. Jack Carter stood behind her, quiet. For once. "They're going to use the Nova Core cannon," she said. "They're really going to do it." Jack nodded. "Unless we stop them." Soraya turned to him. "The problem? We're fugitives now. My father has declared us enemies of the state." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Well, at least now we officially have something in common." Meanwhile, at the Nova Core cannon facility, in the cold heart of a metal moon, engineers worked around the glowing weapon. It looked like a giant sun caught in chains, light pulsing, unstable, alive. Zelthar walked the corridor silently. He watched the weapon like an artist staring at his final painting. Behind him, the masked figure spoke. "You still have feelings for them." Zelthar didn't turn. "Feelings don't matter, outcomes do." "You raised a daughter, not a soldier." "I raised a survivor," he said. "Now she'll learn what that truly means." He looked at the control panel. Countdown. 9 days. 4 hours. Back on Zalari Prime, Jack and Soraya hid in the old catacombs beneath the palace, abandoned tunnels once used during ancient wars. Dusty, silent, forgotten, but not to Soraya. "I used to sneak down here when I was a child," she said. "This was my escape." Jack shined his flashlight around. "Charming. Smells like space mold." She chuckled lightly. Just a little. The first smile she'd allowed herself in days. Then Jack stopped. He pointed to an old panel. "What's that?" Soraya wiped the dust off. Her eyes widened. "It's a royal override key to the interceptor hangar." Jack's eyes lit up. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" She grinned. "That we steal a ship, break into a top-secret facility, and stop a giant death cannon?" "Exactly." "Then, yes, but nothing's ever that easy." As they approached the hangar, alarms blared. "Security breach in Sector 7. Lockdown in progress," Soraya cursed. "They found us." Jack pulled her into a side room. "Options?" She looked at her blade. "Fight our way out." He looked at the army of guards outside the window. "That's less of a plan and more of a last request." Then he spotted it. An old X-model cloak drone sitting in a crate. He smirked. "Ever seen a human pretend to be invisible?" The escape, inglorious chaos. Wearing half-broken stealth tech, Jack and Soraya moved through the shadows like ghosts. One point, Jack nearly sneezed from the dust and had to hold it in so hard his face turned purple. "Don't you dare," Soraya whispered. "Alien dust is spicy," he whispered back. They made it to the hangar. A sleek black ship sat waiting. Just as they climbed in, an alarm sounded. "Cloak failure," the system said. Visibility restored. Jack looked out the window. "We just became very visible." Guards charged in. Soraya activated defense. Shields. Jack hit the launch button. The ship roared to life and blasted through the hangar gates, ripping through the sky and straight into space. Aboard the stolen ship, inside the cockpit, Soraya piloted while Jack rewired the comms. Where exactly are we flying to again, he asked. To the only place we won't get shot on sight, Soraya replied. The Edge colonies. Jack raised an eyebrow. The ones full of smugglers and exiled warlords? Yes, he leaned back. You really know how to pick a vacation spot. In the Edge colonies, they landed in a lawless outpost called Cinder, Ark, floating in the remains of a shattered planet. Here, you could buy anything: information, weapons, loyalty, even time. They met with an old Zalari named Vex Tal, once an engineer under Zelthar, now a bitter outcast. I helped design the crew. Nova Corps, Vex said, until I realized what it could do. Soraya leaned in. Can you help us stop it? Vex snorted. Sure. Just walk into the most protected base in the galaxy, hack a core reactor, and pray it doesn't explode. Jack grinned. See? That's almost exactly what we were going to do anyway. Plot twist incoming. Vex showed them a schematic. Here. This part of the core, this wasn't in the original design. It's a new piece. I don't know what it does. Soraya narrowed her eyes. My father added it. Jack looked closer, and then his blood ran cold. It's a DNA-locked trigger, he said. Only someone in Zelthar's bloodline can activate or stop the cannon. Vex's eyes widened. Which means... Jack looked at Soraya. Her face went pale. I'm the key. Meanwhile, on the Nova Corps facility, Zelthar stood before the cannon. His masked ally watched silently. It's almost ready, he said. Are you sure she won't interfere? Zelthar's voice was low. If she does, I'll stop her myself. Countdown. 8 days, 12 hours. The plan, Jack, Soraya, and Vex created a 3-phase plan. Infiltrate the Nova Corps facility. Disable the shields. Soraya manually overrides the cannon core using her DNA. Jack added a 4th point. Don't die. Soraya looked at him. You say that like it's optional. He smiled. With you? Everything feels optional except the danger. They shared a moment, quiet, tense, loaded. Jack stepped closer. You ever wonder what we'd be if none of this had happened? She didn't pull away. She whispered, No. Because I know. He blinked. You do? We'd still fight, just not each other. But before anything more could happen, Vex's console beeped. Incoming message, encrypted. From inside the Nova Corps, they played it. A familiar voice came through. Zelthar. Soraya. If you're hearing this, I want you to know I never stopped protecting you even now, but if you try to stop me, you will die. As Jack and Soraya prepared to leave, Vex suddenly froze. Something's wrong, he said. He turned to a screen. A red blinking signal. Someone's tracking you right now. Outside, dozens of stealth drones appeared in the sky. Ambush, Soraya shouted. Jack grabbed his weapon. We've been sold out. They fought their way back to the ship, dodging blasts and collapsing buildings. As they took off, a drone clipped their engine. The ship spiraled toward space. Systems failing, warning lights screaming. Jack shouted over the noise. We make it. Out of this, you're buying the drinks, Soraya growled. We crash, I'm haunting your apartment. The truth behind the Bond opening scene. Crashing stars Jack Carter was used to rough landings. But this one felt like a planet punched them back. The stolen ship slammed into the surface of a jagged asteroid, bouncing once, twice, then sliding half a mile through dust and metal debris before stopping just shy of a lava lake. Sparks, smoke, flames. Inside, alarms were screaming. Soraya's arm was bleeding. Jack's nose might have been broken. Again. You okay? Jack coughed. Soraya yanked out a shard of glass from her shoulder and muttered, Never better. They stumbled out into the broken landscape. Behind them, the ship burned. "Well," Jack said, hands on his hips, "we definitely can't return it for a refund." Soraya pointed to the horizon. In the distance, lit by the glow of two suns, stood the Nova Corps cannon, surrounded by defense towers and shield domes, the final boss, the endgame, the world killer. Jack exhaled. "Let's finish this." Flashback, inside Zelthar's mind, 2 days earlier. In a quiet chamber deep within the Nova Corps facility, Zelthar stared into a memory cube. It showed a scene from long ago, a younger version of him, holding baby Soraya, and a human soldier beside him. Yes, a human, not Jack. Someone else. Someone older. Zelthar whispered to himself. "I told them peace was impossible. They didn't listen." He clenched his fist. "Now they'll all listen." Behind him, the masked figure stepped forward. "Do you trust her to stop you?" Zelthar smiled faintly. "She doesn't know what she's stopping." Back to the present. Infiltration Jack and Soraya moved through the tunnels beneath the Nova Corps base. Thanks to Vex's hacked codes, they bypassed several security doors, though Jack nearly electrocuted himself on the third one and only survived by yelling, "I am the circuit," while kicking it open. Soraya rolled her eyes. Human tech support is terrifying. They reached the main core chamber. Inside, a glowing sphere the size of a planet heart, surrounded by swirling gravity rings and humming energy beams. Jack stared. "Okay, that's the most do-not-touch thing I've ever seen." Soraya stepped forward. "I recognize this design. The override panel is ahead. I'll have to place my hand inside." Jack frowned. "Inside that spinning fire tornado? Of death? Yes. Oh, fun." Plot twist number 1. The memory core before Soraya could activate the override. A side console lit up. A voice came from it. Her father. "Soraya, if you're here, then it's time I told you the truth." A hidden wall slid open. Inside, a cryo chamber, and, inside that, a body. Human. Older. Burnt. Preserved in stasis. Jack stepped closer and froze. That's my father." Soraya turned, stunned. "What?" Jack stared, pale. "I thought he died in the border wars, years ago. He was part of the Peace Force." The recording continued. "His name was Alan Carter. He saved my life once like your Jack did. But when others tried to silence him, he refused to stand down. He died for peace, while Earth blamed the Zalari." Zelthar's voice softened. "I created the bonding law to prevent another war, but I also created a weapon in case it failed." Soraya was trembling now. "So the bonding wasn't to start war. It was to stop it." Jack looked at her. "Your father created the fake law to force peace," she whispered. "He used us. Both of us." Plot twist number 2. The real traitor, suddenly. Boom. A wall exploded, guards stormed in, and behind them walked Vex Tal, the engineer, their friend. Soraya's eyes widened. "You helped us," Vex smirked. "No, I watched you," Jack growled. "Why?" Vex's face twisted. "Because he made peace, and peace killed my family." He nodded toward the cannon. "This weapon, this isn't just a gun, it's a reset button. We wipe the board clean, start from zero. No alliances, no lies. Just survival." Soraya raised her sword. "You betrayed your own people." Vex laughed. "They stopped being my people when they chose weakness." Battle in the core. What followed was chaos. Jack tackled Vex into a plasma rail. Soraya slashed through guards with terrifying speed. The cannon began to overload. Lights blinked. Red Jack shouted, "It's charging!" Soraya ran to the override panel. "I can stop it, but I need time." More guards poured in. Jack held the line with everything he had. Blaster fire. Fists. One well-aimed chair. Then, Vex stabbed Jack in the side. Soraya screamed. She slammed her hand into the override panel, blood and energy mixing. The machine screamed. The countdown halted at 0, Oro, 03. The cannon shut down. Silence. Aftermath. Jack collapsed. Soraya caught him. "You idiot," she whispered. "You were supposed to dodge." Jack winced. "You're welcome. For the distraction." She smiled through her tears. Zelthar's voice returned. "Through the system. If you hear this, it means she made the right choice. Peace can't be given. It has to be chosen. Over and over again. Even when it hurts." Soraya looked down at Jack. "I choose it," she whispered. "I choose him." The facility begins to self-destruct. Vex's sabotage triggered a failsafe. Soraya drags Jack to an escape pod. As they launch into space, she clutches his hand. He fades into unconsciousness, and in his dreams, he hears a voice. "Jack, wake up." He opens his eyes. He's in a white room, alone. A screen turns on. A woman appears. Human, military uniform, cold expression. "Hello, Subject Carter. You've completed Phase 1 of the integration test. Phase 2 begins now." His heart races. Because it's not Soraya speaking, and this time it's not even his memory. It's a lab, and someone just turned him on. Love is the final rebellion. The other. Jack Carter woke up in a room that smelled like bleach, chrome, and lies. White walls, bright lights, a soft humming noise like a lullaby made by machines. He tried to move. His limbs were heavy, like he was wearing someone else's body. A voice spoke overhead. "Vitals stable. Subject reawakened. Memory sync complete." Jack's head pulsed. Flashes of war. Soraya's face, blood, laughter, fire, then nothing. A woman stepped into view. Cold, calm, human, military. "Welcome back, Jack Carter. Or should I say, Prototype 7. His blood froze. "No," he whispered. "I'm not a clone." "You're not," she said. "Not anymore. You're something better." Meanwhile, back on the edge, Soraya sat alone in the cockpit of an escape pod, drifting silently through star space. Jack had been ripped from her arms, disappeared during extraction. The last thing she heard was a message from his communicator. "Retrieval initiated. Subject secure. Subject." She clenched her fists. They took him. She reached for her sword. "Now, I take him back." The hidden truth, Vex's final file. Before the Nova Core facility collapsed, Soraya had copied Vex's encrypted files. Now, alone in the drifting pod, she opened the last one. It showed a map of experiments. Project HFY. Human for you. Design, hybrid loyalty systems using emotional imprinting through near-death bonding. Test group, Carter clones. Objective, create peacekeepers programmable through love. Soraya's breath hitched. Jack was built to love, built to protect her, built for her. "But he chose it," she whispered, "even when no one told him to. Even when he thought it was real." She looked at the stars. So it was real. Meanwhile, Jack escapes. Jack, Prototype 7, if that's even who he was, ripped the wires off his skin. He fought 2 guards with strength that surprised even him. Muscle memory, reflexes he didn't train for. He ran through sterile halls until he found it. The cloning archive. Rows of pods. All of them. Him. Slightly different ages, different scars, different timelines. Dozens of Jacks. He fell to his knees. Then he heard a voice. "You're not one of them anymore." He turned. A man stepped forward. Worn face, a scar on his cheek. "I'm the original." Confrontation, the real Jack Carter. The man looked tired, real, human. "I'm Jack Carter," he said. "The first one. You're my echo. But you're more than that now. Prototype 7 looked at him furious. You let them clone you? Let them use you to create me? I didn't know. I was injured. They took my DNA during rehab. Then they said I died in combat. He nodded toward the pods. This was never my choice. But you chose to run, fight, love her. Clone Jack stared at his hands. But it was programmed. Maybe, the original said. But feelings aren't fake just because they started in a lab. Rescue incoming Soraya didn't wait for permission. She stole a stolen ship, very on brand, and stormed the hidden human science facility orbiting Kara X, a planet forgotten by maps. She flew through defense systems like a storm with a score. To settle. Stand down, came the warning. No, she whispered. Not this time. She burst through the docking bay, sword drawn, and began slicing her way through the halls like a woman with nothing left to lose, and everything left to protect. Final collision, she found him, Prototype Jack, standing in front of the cloning pods. He turned, her face, his face. The moment froze. I don't know if I'm me, he said, voice trembling. I don't know what part of me was real. Soraya walked forward. She put her hand on his chest. This is real. You saved me. You saved the galaxy. You loved without being told to. Jack looked at her. And you still trust me? She smiled softly. I don't trust easily. But I believe in us. He swallowed hard. Then that makes us both fools. Maybe, she whispered. But fools in love can do impossible things. Final twist. The masked figure revealed. Suddenly, the alarms blared again. The masked figure stepped out from the shadows. Still alive. Still watching. You were never meant to meet, they said. Your love was the experiment, and now it's failed. Soraya raised her blade. Wrong. It passed. The figure removed the mask. Jack gasped. It was a clone of Soraya. Older, colder, scarred. I'm what she could have been. What she should have been. Trained to obey. Built for war. She stepped forward. You fell in love with the wrong version of her, and now everything must be reset. Final battle. Love. First legacy clone Soraya fought like fire. Real Soraya fought like lightning. Jack was stuck between two women who wore the same face, but only one had a soul. Finally, as the clone prepared to strike Jack, Soraya whispered, I'm sorry, and fired a bolt straight through her own, clone's heart. The clone collapsed. I didn't want that, Soraya said, shaking. Jack caught her. Then we do better. Together, the future weeks later. The war was over. The cannon destroyed. The truth exposed. Zelthar's message was broadcast across systems. The peace was manipulated, yes, but now it would be chosen freely, not forced. Soraya stood beside Jack at a small outpost watching the sunrise over a green world. He handed her coffee. Tastes like dirt, she sipped. Tastes like peace. He smiled. So, no more fake laws? No more bonding ceremonies? She turned to him. No more lies. He paused. Well, there's one thing left. He pulled out a ring made from the remains of the Nova Corps. No law, no council. Just choice. She blinked. Are you seriously proposing with a piece of a death weapon? It's symbolic, he said. She took it, smiling. I love it. They saved a galaxy, not with weapons, not with power, but with something no law could fake, something no clone could copy. A choice, a rebellion called love.